The Forsaken Heir. Previous episodes are available on the playlist. You can also visit our website for your favorite stories. A link is provided in the video description. Episode 59. When the coach punched Charlie, he was full of disdain for him. He used full strength with this punch, and he also believed that his punch would be able to directly defeat Charlie in front of everyone. I have to say that the coach does have some strength. After all, he has won the National Sanda Championship, and the average person is really not his opponent. His punch was quick and hard, and even Aoxu, who had also practiced Sanda for many years, did not respond, let alone Qin Gang and Steven. However, the speed at which the coach is proud of, in Charlie's eyes, is like slow motion, without threat. Moreover, he really didn't have much strength in this punch in his opinion. Even if he stood still and sturdy enough to give him a punch, he couldn't hurt him with that punch. However, even if there is no threat to him, it is absolutely impossible to hit Charlie. Therefore, when the coach was about to hit his door with a punch, he suddenly raised his fist to meet the opponent's fist and smashed it. Charlie's punch was as fast as a cannonball out of the chamber, and the coach couldn't react to it at all. Just when the coach thought he could kill Charlie with a single blow, he suddenly felt that his right fist was hit by an iron punch, and with a thud, there was severe pain and the sound of broken bones. In front of Charlie's fist, his fist was not even squeezed, and after a crit, the entire fist was completely destroyed. The coach held the shattered right fist, cried out in pain, and looked at Charlie with an incredulous expression on his face. He couldn't understand how this young man could have such a terrifying, even somewhat abnormal strength. One punch can burst out such a strong strength, which is far beyond the scope of his own recognition. Charlie looked at him at this time, and said in a disdainful voice, "At a level like you, and you are far from coaching a world champion. With this kind of hard work everywhere, it's better to practice your business skills. To avoid being embarrassing." Although the coach was full of resentment towards Charlie in his heart, he did not dare to disobey him any more and could only flee the scene in a desperate manner. At this time, Aoxu smiled and said to Charlie, "Master, you are now my coach. When are you going to guide me to practice?" Charlie smiled and asked her, "When is your next game?" Aoxu hurriedly said, "The next game is in the afternoon of the day after tomorrow." Charlie asked again, "Who will you play in the next game?" Aoxu thought for a while, and said nervously, "I am a qualifying player in Group 5. I have to play against the qualifying players in Group 6 in accordance with the regulations. The number 3 seeded player in this game is in Group 6, so it is going to be the next game with her." Charlie asked, "Who is the number 3 seed player?" Aoxu said hurriedly, "The number 3 seeded player is Joanna from Brazil. Oh my god, I definitely can't beat her." Charlie smiled and said, "You haven't started fighting yet, how do you know that you can't beat her? I think you can definitely defeat this girl." Aoxu said with some shame, "Master, my strength, I myself know very well, this opponent is very strong, she is a leader among young Brazilian female Sanda players, and her strength is indeed much stronger than mine." Charlie smiled slightly in her ear, "Don't forget the magic medicine I gave you last time. Although your current physical fitness is very good, there is still a big gap between it and the real master. However, if you take that magic drug, your physical strength, reaction speed, will be greatly improved, then, I believe your strength will also improve a lot. Defeat that Brazilian Joanna, absolutely not, come on. Aoxu remembered the magic medicine that Charlie had given her before. At that time, she was looking for Master to ask Father for medicine. Originally she only wanted one medicine and she was satisfied, but she didn't expect Master to give her two medicines, so her father gave her another magic medicine. But that magical medicine has been properly kept by her, and have never thought of eating it. This was mainly because she didn't know that this magical medicine could also strengthen the body. At that time, she only thought that this magical medicine was the healing medicine after injury, so she kept it in a safe place for emergency. So Aoxu looked at Charlie and asked in surprise, "Master, can that magic medicine still improve personal strength?" "Of course." Charlie nodded and said, "It can improve your physical fitness in many ways. Although your physical fitness is already very strong, to be honest, compared with the colored people in Latin America, it is indeed still gaps, genetic gaps, and sometimes it is difficult to break through. It seems that black people are always good at sprinting. That's because black people are more explosive than other people." After speaking, Charlie said again, "However, if you take the magic medicine I gave you, you can fundamentally improve your physical function, and even make your body function surpass those people." Aoxu hurriedly asked, "Master, if I take it, can the magic drug you give pass the doping test?" The doping test for sports games is very strict. If you are found to have taken a doping drug, you will be disqualified or even banned permanently. Charlie smiled and said, "Don't worry, my magic medicine relies on wonderful prescriptions and pure medicinal power, and has nothing to do with chemically purified stimulants. There will never be any problems." Aoxu said excitedly, "Then I will take that magic medicine when I go back today." Charlie nodded, "I will come back when you play the next afternoon." "Great!" Aoxu was extremely excited and cheered happily. Qin Gang on the side hurriedly said respectfully, "Master, it's almost noon now, or else I would like to invite you to enjoy the noodles at noon and have a home-cooked meal at home." Charlie wanted to decline, but he thought that if Aoxu was going to take the medicine in the afternoon, he could pay close attention to her and at the same time help her guide the absorption of medicine. Besides, Claire recently worked overtime at the company at noon, and generally did not go home to eat. The old master was also busy with the elderly college where Miking was studying, so he would definitely not go back at noon. Elaine, mother-in-law, is alone at home, and there is no need to go back and cook for her. So he nodded and said, "If that's the case, then I will go over and make some noise. By the way, I will be at your house this afternoon to help Aoxu absorb the medicine." Qin Gang and Aoxu's father and daughter raised their eyebrows with joy when they saw Charlie promise to eat at home. Charlie has never been a guest at their home, so the two of them are looking forward to it, and hope that they can get closer with Charlie this time. Especially little Pepper Aoxu, she has been obsessed with Charlie for a day or two. She has always wanted to find a chance to develop with Charlie. Today's opportunity is really good. Seeing that Charlie was going to be a guest at home at noon, Aoxu happily went to the lounge to change clothes. Before leaving, she said to Charlie, "Master, wait for me, I have to take a shower, but don't worry, it will be back soon." Charlie nodded and smiled. Don't worry, get busy with your affairs. Qin Gang on the side said, Master, it's quite messy here, or let's take a rest in the stroller, I'll let someone drive over in an RV today. Charlie smiled slightly, okay, then go to the car and wait. Stephen said in a hurry, Master, please. When Charlie left the stadium with Qin Gang and Stephen, the coach, who had just been smashed with his right fist by Charlie, came to an athlete's lounge with a black face. At the entrance of this lounge, there is a Japanese flag with the words Japanese player, Nanako written on it. The coach hesitated for a moment at the door, but still knocked on the door of the lounge. Soon, the door was opened, and a young man looked at him suspiciously, and asked, Who are you? The coach hurriedly smiled and said, Hello, I want to find Miss Nanako, and her coach, Mr. Yamamoto Kazuki. The young man turned his head and said to the middle-aged man and young girl in the lounge, Mr. Yamamoto, Miss Ito, this gentleman is here to see you too. Yamamoto Kazuki's eyebrows stood cold, and he asked, Who are you? Do we know each other? The coach smiled and said humbly, Mr. Yamamoto, I am a Sanda coach. In the Sanda competition for 10 years, I participated in the battle on behalf of China, but I was defeated by you at that time. Don't you remember? Yamamoto Kazuki said arrogantly, I can't count the people who lost to me. How can I remember them all? The coach nodded awkwardly, and said, Well, Mr. Yamamoto, I am coaching Aoxia for this competition, the girl representing China. Oh no, the former coach, I have resigned now. Yamamoto Kazuki frowned and said, Aoxia? Why haven't I heard of this player? In this competition, among the top 5 seeded players, there shouldn't be this one, right? The coach nodded quickly, No, she has not been selected as a seed player before, so you may not pay attention to her. Yamamoto Kazuki asked coldly, Then what do you mean by coming to me? The coach hurriedly said, I want to reveal a message to you. This Aoxia has found a very sinister and venomous kid as a coach. If Ms. Nanako will meet Aoxia in the subsequent games, she must be careful of her coach. Yamamoto Kazuki disdainfully said, I don't believe that this kind of person would be great. I am Yamamoto Kazuki, a national treasure level fighter. The apprentice I taught is also a national treasure level Sanda fighter. Nanako's strength, not to mention college students from all over the world, even if the current athletes from all over the world participate in the Olympic Games, Nanako has the strength to win the championship. I will not hide it from you. Nanako's participation in this competition is actually just training. The real goal is to participate in the next Olympic Games and win the gold medal. The coach nodded and complimented, I know Mr. Yamamoto, your strength is extraordinary, and the personal disciples you trained yourself are naturally very powerful, but the young man I am talking about does have a few brushes. Look at my right hand. With that said, the coach immediately handed over his right hand. Yamamoto Kazuki couldn't help looking at the wound on his right hand. He asked, Your injury is very new, and the blood hasn't scabbled yet. It should have happened within half an hour? Yes. The coach said, Look, the kid I was talking about just used his fist to abolish my right hand. You can't do this, Mr. Yamamoto, right? As soon as this word came out, Yamamoto Kazuki immediately became serious. He is also a practitioner, but he knows that there are upper limits for human bodies and physical bodies, and this upper limit is very low. Human fists are composed of the four major elements of flesh, bones, muscles and skin. They are all flesh and blood. They can hit the opponent's abdomen, face, and other soft parts, so that they are not injured. However, use the fist to hit the opponent's fist. Then this is the standard head-on. However, whose fist is so strong that it can smash someone else's fist with one punch? Thinking of this, he hurriedly asked, "That young man smashed your fist like this, is he seriously injured?" The coach said angrily, "He has nothing to do. This is the strangest place. This guy's body seems to be very hard, like steel. I am worried that he has any inner family skills, in case it is passed on to Aoxu. Ms. Nanako, I am afraid it will be difficult for her to win this competition." Yamamoto Kazuki finally paid attention to this issue in his heart. He nodded, and said gloomily, "Aoxu, right? I've taken it down." After all, he looked at the coach and asked, "Why are you helping us?" The coach said hurriedly, "Mr. Yamamoto, let's tell you, that kid robbed me of my job and abolished my right hand. I hate him deeply in my heart. And he also said that he is confident enough to let Aoxu win. The champion of this competition also said that Miss Nanako is not Aoxu's opponent at all. Therefore, I sincerely hope that Miss Nanako can defeat this Aoxu and don't let that guy succeed." Yamamoto Kazuki nodded and said, "Okay, I know, I will definitely pay attention to it. If you don't let the other party succeed, you can go back." The coach nodded and bowed and said, "Mr. Yamamoto, I will leave first." At this moment, the girl in the room who put on a long-sleeved trousers and sportswear said in a very gentle voice, "Tanaka, please give this gentleman a check for 100,000, thank him for telling us so important information. This girl is extremely beautiful, with a Japanese hairstyle with bangs. If you only see her, you will only think that she is the most quiet, elegant, and most standard Japanese beauty, but she is absolutely unexpected. A master of Sanda fighting and karate." The young man who opened the door to the coach immediately nodded respectfully and said, "Yes, Miss Ito." After speaking, he took out the checkbook from his pocket, wrote a check for 100,000 and handed it to the coach. "This is a little bit of our eldest lady's appreciation, please accept it." The coach came to look for Yamamoto Kazuki and Nanako, just trying to create some trouble for Aoxu and Charlie, and try not to let her have a chance to win the championship. To put it bluntly, he just wanted to spoil the other side's good deeds, harm, and disadvantage her. However, he didn't expect that Nanako was so generous, and gave him 100,000 in benefits. This made him instantly flattered, accepting the check, bowing and thanking him again and again, and then left Nanako's lounge with satisfaction. After the coach left, Nanako walked up to Yamamoto Kazuki and asked, "Master, although the coach's strength is far worse than you, it can be regarded as a middle-level player in the field of Sanda. The young man he was talking about was able to hurt him to such a degree, and he didn't hurt him at all. It seems to be very powerful indeed." Yamamoto Kazuki asked curiously, "Nanako, how do you know that the coach is good at strength?" Nanako smiled and said, Master, I have watched all your game videos and studied each of your games in depth, so I have also seen the whole process of the game between you and this player just now. His strength, it should be about 70% of yours. That's it. Yamamoto Kazuki sighed, and said with approval, Nanako, this is why I accepted you as a direct disciple. You are too easy to learn, and you worked too hard. Given your family background, you don't need to work so hard for a little ranking. The strength of the Ito family is enough to make you the top rich second generation envied by countless people in Japan, but you can sink your heart and concentrate on studying martial arts. It's the only thing I have seen in my life. I believe that in time, you will be able to surpass being a teacher and become a top master that Japan is proud of. Nanako said with a humble expression, Master, you have praised me. I just wants to do my best to practice martial arts to the extreme, not to let you down, and the Ito family's high hopes for me. Yamamoto Kazuki nodded and said, We are all eagerly expecting that you can win glory for the country. Having said that, Yamamoto Kazuki sighed and said with emotion, I have long been optimistic that you can become the pride of all Japan, and I believe you can too. Nanako nodded earnestly, Master, rest assured, it will go all out. Yamamoto Kazuki hummed and said, Next, I'm going to see that Aoxu and her coach. At this time, Aoxu had changed into her daily clothes and walked out of the gym with her training bag on her back. And Charlie was sitting in the spacious and luxurious RV of the Chin family, tasting the Kung Fu tea that Stephen had brewed for him. Chin Gang's luxury car is indeed extraordinary. From the outside, it looked like an ordinary long-distance bus, and there was no clue to it. But after he walked in, he realized that there was a whole different world inside. Except for driving, the entire carriage has been completely remodeled. There are not only a spacious and luxurious living room, a luxurious and rich lounge and bar, but also 2 extremely comfortable bedrooms and a bathroom with shower. According to Chin Gang, he bought this car specifically for his daughter's competition. Aoxu often travels to various parts of the country to participate in competitions. Whether by car, train, or plane, there will be a lot of stress after getting there. Playing sports itself has very high demands on physical strength and physical condition, so he didn't want the schedule to affect his daughter's performance, so he bought this car to take her across the country. In Chin Gang's words, riding in this car is comfortable, stable, and safer, just like a mobile home. Even if you drive in the car for more than 10 or 20 hours, you will not feel the slightest fatigue. This ensures that his daughter always has an excellent competitive state. Stephen watched Charlie drink up the tea, and hurriedly refilled him respectfully, and asked diligently, Master, don't know, are you satisfied with this tea? Charlie nodded and smiled, and said, Yes, Stephen, you should have learned this posture specifically. I didn't expect that a person of your personality would be able to bear the temper to study tea ceremony. The former Stephen was a rich second generation who didn't understand. Not only don't understand the sh, but also like to be arty, buy some sh, stuff in the antique street all day long, and take it as a baby no matter what garbage. Even when the whole city came to Oris Hill to participate in the auction, he slid and slapped it against himself. Unexpectedly, this kid hasn't seen him for a while, his personality has really converged a lot, and he has become more sensible. Stephen heard Charlie praise him, and hurriedly explained with a blushing face, "Master, I used to be young and ignorant. I offended you. Please don't take it to your heart. My second uncle kept letting me be here. I honestly reflect on the family and let me learn the tea ceremony and cultivate my sentiment. Now I am not as impetuous as before." Charlie nodded and said, "Yes, people, one is afraid of irritability and second is afraid of drifting. If you can calm down and reflect on yourself, it proves that it is not as hopeless as before." Qin Gang smiled and said, "I told this kid a long time ago that if he doesn't change his character to me and twists his around, then his dad and I will lock him in the house for 10 years. I won't let him out for 8 years, so that he won't cause trouble for the Qin family. Fortunately, this kid is still a little conscious and can know how to return when he gets lost." While he was talking, Aoxu ran and jumped into the car, saw her father and younger brother drinking tea with Master, and said with a smile, "Master, Father, younger brother, you have been waiting for a long time, let's hurry up." Qin Gang pointed to Aoxu and smiled and said to Charlie, "Look, Master, when you are in front of this little girl, even her own father has to go back." Aoxu said embarrassedly, "Oh, Dad, how can it be? People respect Master, and Master is our distinguished guest, I should first greet Master." Qin Gang smiled and said, "Look at you, I just state it, and there is no other opinion. What are you nervous about?" Aoxu muttered, "How can I be nervous? Dad, you will talk nonsense." Qin Gang smiled with satisfaction, "Oh, well, Dad is talking nonsense, come, come, sit down next to Master, let the driver drive, let's go home for dinner." Aoxu hurriedly blushed, and sat down next to Charlie. At this time, the driver started the RV and drove slowly away from the stadium parking lot. The Qin's villa is not in the city center, but in the outskirts, next to the Oris Hill Reservoir. Oris Hill Reservoir is a large lake on the outskirts of Oris Hill, and it is also the main source of water for the entire city. The villa is built on the edge of Oris Hill Reservoir. It can be said that Oris Hill Reservoir is regarded as a super-large artificial lake in its own community, so the environment is quite good, which is by no means comparable to the villa area in the city. The Qin family's villa here has been bought many years ago, and Qin Gang had a vision at the beginning. When the city hadn't issued a document management to restrict the renovation and reconstruction of the villa area, he bought 2 villas directly, and then transferred the 2 villas and merged them together. Moreover, his 2 villas are close to the lake, and when you open the door every day, there are clear water and the green environment of birds and flowers. It is really a great pleasure. The courtyard of the Qin's villa is huge. Even this kind of RV can park 7 or 8 cars without any problems. After the car stopped in the yard, Aoxu hurriedly said to Charlie, "Master, I will take you to the small pier by the lake. I have a speedboat, just to take you for a ride in the lake." Charlie didn't expect Aoxu to have a speedboat here. Seeing her eagerly, he smiled and said, "Okay, let's take a look with you, but how about your driving skills? You won't throw me into the lake, right?" Aoxu blushed and said shyly, "How come, Master? My technique is very stable, don't worry. Even if you really fall into the lake, I can save you." Stephen hurriedly said, "Sister, take me, I want to go. Stephen is not Aoxu's own brother, the two are just cousins, so he doesn't usually live in this villa, but occasionally comes as a guest. So when he heard Aoxu say that she was going to go on a boat ride, he couldn't help but feel a little itchy. Aoxu glared at him, and said, "Where are you going? Why are you everywhere?" Stephen curled his lips aggrievedly and wanted to say something. Qin Gang on the side said to him, "Stephen, you come with me, I have something to tell you." When Stephen saw that his second uncle said this, he did not dare to say anything more, at least honestly nodded and said, "Okay, second uncle." Here, Aoxu took Charlie's arm affectionately, and said, "Master, let's go and enjoy the scene for a while, otherwise it's time to eat after a while." Charlie nodded and went to the lake with her. At this time, Qin Gang whispered to Stephen, "You kid, you've been honest during this period of time. Why don't you have any vision?" Stephen asked aggrieved, "Second uncle, what happened to me? Am I not quite honest?" Qin Gang whispered, "Are you stupid? Can't see that I am deliberately matching your sister and master? You are still rushing to make a light bulb. Isn't this a good thing for your sister?" Stephen hesitated for a moment, then whispered, "Second uncle, master is married." Qin Gang snorted and asked, "If you get married, you can't divorce? Who made it? As long as master divorces and then marries your sister, isn't master the son-in-law of our Qin family?" Stephen was dumbfounded, before nodding helplessly after a while, "Okay, second uncle, you are right." After speaking, he thought about it, and said with a wistful smile, "Second uncle, you said, if master becomes my future brother-in-law, then I will be awesome. Who else is there in Oris Hill? Dare to mess with me?" Qin Gang smiled faintly, and said, "Once master wants to be your brother-in-law, I think if you look at the whole country, no one would dare to provoke you." Stephen was so excited, he clapped his hands and smiled, "Haha, that's great." At this time, Aoxu brought Charlie to a small dock by the lake. Here, there is a light steel structure small dock with an imported small speedboat parked inside. This kind of speedboat has only 6 seats in total, which is not big, but the stern is equipped with 4 400 horsepower Yamaha marine engines. Charlie was almost confused, and blurted out, "A ship of this size is equipped with a 200 horsepower boat, and it runs very fast with engines. This boat is equipped with 4 400 horsepower engines. Is this going to fly?" Aoxu stuck out her tongue and said with a smile, "This reservoir is usually closed for management, and there are no other boats on it, so naturally it's fun to drive fast." Then, she jumped into the boat and said cheerfully, "When I was on vacation abroad, I found that people abroad like to play super-powered speedboats. Ferrari also produced a Riva Ferrari speedboat, which I drove abroad. Once, it was quite exciting, but the power was still a little bit low, so I specially customized this speedboat. The power configuration is twice that of the Ferrari speedboat." Charlie smiled and said, "Let me say this, I am a little nervous." Aoxu smiled and said, "Master, please trust Aoxu's technology." Charlie nodded, stepped onto the speedboat and sat beside Aoxu. At this time, Aoxu pressed the start button, and the 4 side-by-side V8 marine engines rang out loudly. The low idling sound was much more powerful than the feeling of a supercar. Aoxu slowly drove the speedboat out of the dock, and then smiled mischievously at Charlie, and said, "Master, sit down." After that, she suddenly increased the accelerator to the end. The entire speedboat quickly burst out with great power and rushed forward. Although Charlie had prepared, he was still shocked by the huge power of this speedboat. The lake is very wide, so you don't have to pay attention to the road conditions like driving a speedboat on land. On the surface of the lake, it was okay to close your eyes and open them. The entire surface of the lake suddenly became Aoxu's reckless venue. Her character is a combination of rigidity and softness. The character of the little pepper is destined to prefer this kind of intense extreme sports. But what Aoxu didn't expect was that Charlie had an extremely calm expression from start to finish, which made her feel a little disappointed. The reason why she invited Charlie to take the boat was to see his nervousness. After all, everyone who had been on their own boat was nervous and afraid. She felt that even if Charlie was not afraid, at least he would show tension on his face, so that she could have a little prank success mentality. However, Charlie really did not change at all. Even if she had already exerted the power of this ship to its extreme, making this ship seem to be flying close to the surface of the water, Charlie by her side still looked indifferent. In fact, Charlie felt a little nervous in his heart. It's just that he felt that he definitely couldn't express this tension in front of Aoxu, otherwise, wouldn't he be pinched by this little girl? Aoxu continued to accelerate, and finally accelerated to the point when she felt a little guilty in her own heart. She finally gave up trying and gradually slowed down the speed of the boat, stopping the boat in the middle of the lake, and said to Charlie with her mouth pouting, "Master, don't you usually be nervous and afraid?" Charlie smiled and said, "Sometimes I get nervous, but I never fear." Aoxu hurriedly asked, "Then Master, under what circumstances are you nervous? Can you give me a few specific examples? Come on. I really want to know, what can you do?" "Master, you are nervous." Charlie thought for a while and smiled, "Miss Song, she gave me a check for 100 million. Do you know this?" "I know." Aoxu said with a smile, "Did it mean that Sister Warnia honored you that check when you gave medicine to all of us at Orville's classic mansion?" Charlie nodded. Aoxu hurriedly asked, "Master, you shouldn't put 100 million in your eyes. Why are you still nervous about this check?" Charlie smiled and said, "I put this 100 million check into my pocket and treated it as another one check and gave it to my mother-in-law." Aoxu asked incomprehensibly, "Then why are you nervous? Anyway, 100 million is nothing to you." Charlie smiled indifferently, and said, "I don't feel sorry for losing that 100 million check, but if it falls into the hands of my mother-in-law, I would feel distressed and unable to sleep for a month." At this moment, Oris Hill International Hotel. After Nanako left the gymnasium, she returned to the hotel room with her assistant and several servants who had been assigned to herself from home. For her visit to Oris Hill this time, Ito's family has contracted the only 2 presidential suites in Oris Hill International Hotel a long time in advance. Among them, Nanako lives in a suite by herself, and her coach, assistants, and subordinates live in another presidential suite. And half a month ago, the Ito family sent someone to Oris Hill to transform one of the bedrooms in the presidential suite where Nanako lived, into her exclusive practice room. It is said that the renovation alone cost millions. If the price of 2 presidential suites for the long-term contract is included, Nanako will play in Oris Hill this time. The money spent on housing alone will be at least 3 or 4 million. The main reason for such a lot of trouble and extravagance is that the ITO family is too rich. The ITO family is one of the top 5 big families in Japan. The industry covers almost all imaginable fields. Even the Yamaguchi Group, a well-known underground organization in Japan, has shares in the ITO family. In addition, although Nanako is young and beautiful and intellectual and quiet, but in her bones is a girl who is extremely obsessed with martial arts. She has extremely strict requirements for her training. She never interrupts her training regardless of cold or heat throughout the year. She had just finished the game in the morning. After she returned to the hotel, she skipped lunch and immediately went into her practice room again. Just as she was sweating like rain in the practice room, the phone suddenly vibrated. The call was made by her assistant Hiroshi Tanaka. She stopped practicing, connected to the phone, and asked, "Tanaka, what's the matter?" The other party respectfully said, "Miss, the chairman of Kobayashi Pharmaceutical Co., Limited, Mr. Jiro is here. He wants to see you. I wonder if you have time?" "Jiro?" Nanako said puzzledly, "I have never met him, nor any friendship, why did he come to see me?" Hiroshi Tanaka hurriedly said, "Miss, you don't know that Kobayashi Pharmaceuticals sponsored the finals of this competition, and also won the title at a high price. This seems to be a bold attempt by them to enter the Chinese market, so he himself has also arrived in Oris Hill, knowing that you live here, so I want to come and see you." Nanako said, "Tell him that I'm training and I don't have time to see him. Please ask him to forgive me." Nanako has a relatively introverted personality, and she doesn't like to socialize with people usually. Coupled with the key to formally preparing for the semi-finals, she does not want to be distracted by a stranger. Hiroshi Tanaka hurriedly said, "Miss, Mr. Kobayashi has just inherited Kobayashi Pharmaceutical Co., Limited some time ago, and their flagship product, Kobayashi Vicin, is now actively expanding its sales worldwide." Nanako, who has always been good-tempered, asked angrily at this time, "Tanaka, what are you going to say? I don't have any friendship with Jiro, and I don't care about Kobayashi Pharmaceuticals' situation. These have nothing to do with me." Hiroshi Tanaka said embarrassingly, "Miss, the president has been in close communication with Kobayashi Pharmaceuticals, because the president is very optimistic about the future of Kobayashi Pharmaceuticals, so he is ready to communicate with Jiro about the investment and shareholding. Kobayashi also hopes for ITO very much. The family was able to invest in him, so he invested a lot of money to sponsor this competition, in fact, to show his favor to you and the ITO family." Oh! Nanako knew that the president of Tanaka Hiroshi's mouth was his father, Ito Yuhiko, the current patriarch of the Ito family. However, Nanako is still a little cold and said, "I don't want to get involved too much in the matter of my father. If my father and this Jiro cooperate, then let them meet and talk." Koichi Tanaka said embarrassedly, "Miss, the president still attaches great importance to this cooperation with Kobayashi Pharmaceutical. Don't be so willful." Nanako Ito said lightly, I'm sorry Tanaka, I want to continue training. After that, she hung up the phone directly. Nanako, 22 years old this year, is a senior at the best Tokyo University in Japan. She is simple, and her quiet temperament also brings a bit of inherent indifference. She is the University of Tokyo's 4-year-old school flower, and is also the best daughter-in-law candidate for the top big families in Japan, but she herself is just a simple, unworldly, and dedicated martial artist. Therefore, she doesn't understand the relationship between men and women, nor the world. Neither Jiro nor Obayashi Taro has anything to do with her. Even if it is her father's best friend and closest partner, as long as he has no blood relationship with her or her elder relatives, she will not buy it. Her current life goal is very simple. First, she must win this year's World College Sanda competition, and then successfully graduate from the University of Tokyo, and then start preparing for the next Olympic Games. At the last Olympics, she was too young and she was tight in school, so she was not able to participate, but the next Olympics has become the stage she desires most in her heart. She is eager to win the Olympic champion, and she is eager to win more than one Olympic champion. To get this Olympic champion title, and then defend the next Olympic championship, this has become the biggest pursuit in her life. Koichi Tanaka was holding the phone at this time, facing the expectant Jiro, unavoidably embarrassed. Unexpectedly, the lady was so unkind, and she said it all for this reason, she still didn't want to see Jiro. Koichi Tanaka could only lie to Jiro, Mr. Kobayashi, please wait a moment, our lady is still training, and she should see you later. Wearing a top-level suit and glasses, Jiro, the gentleman smiled incomparably, and said seriously, it doesn't matter, if Miss Ito is busy, then please ask her to do her first and leave me alone. I can wait here. Hiroshi Tanaka nodded and said, Mr. Kobayashi, please sit down for a while, and I will pour a cup of tea for you. After speaking, he went to the kitchen, took out his mobile phone and called the head of the Ito family, Takehiko Ito. As soon as the phone was connected, Ito Yuhako's low and strong voice came, Tanaka, what can I do for you? Hiroshi Tanaka said in a hurry, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Jiro, Chairman of Kobayashi Pharmaceutical Co., Limited is here. He wants to see Missy. Ito Yuahiko hummed, and said, I know that Jiro has a great affection for Nanako. He came to beg me the other day and hoped that he would marry Nanako. Hiroshi Tanaka asked, so what do you mean, Lord President? Yuhiko Ito did not answer Koichi Tanaka's question, but said in a strong tone, Tanaka, you are my confidant, so I will tell you the following things, but you must remember that you must not disclose it to anyone. Otherwise, I will definitely send you to see Amaterasu. As soon as Tanaka heard this, he immediately blurted out, President, please rest assured, Tanaka will never reveal your words. Ito Yuhiko said with satisfaction, Kobayashi Pharmaceuticals now has a stomach powder with excellent efficacy and very good sales. It is actively expanding the global market. Modern people will encounter some stomach upsets. The market space is also very broad. Once this drug is launched globally, the annual profit can reach at least tens of billions. Hiroshi Tanaka exclaimed, it's just a stomach medicine, so there is such a large market space? Ito Yuhiko said, "This is just my preliminary estimate. I have asked the pharmaceutical laboratory of the University of Tokyo to analyze and compare the stomach powder of Kobayashi Pharmaceuticals and the stomach medicines of several other companies on the market, and the conclusion is, Kobayashi Vison is the best. Therefore, it is only a matter of time for Kobayashi Vison to stand on top of the world. If you want to catch this golden egg hen, you must get as soon as possible. The best way is to marry the Kobayashi family and invest in Kobayashi Pharmaceuticals. If Nanako and Jiro get married, then I will acquire at least 20%, or even 30% of the shares of Kobayashi Pharmaceutical, which will bring our family billions in profits a year." Hiroshi Tanaka suddenly realized, "Mr. President, I understand your intentions." Ito Yuahiko gave a hum, and said, "So, if you are in China and by Nanako's side, you must find a way to persuade her more, and to be by her side, say more good things about Jiro. If she can agree, this summer after graduating from university, she must immediately marry Jiro, then even if you have done a great job, I will reward you with 5 millions at that time." Hiroshi Tanaka was overjoyed and said quickly, "Chairman, Tanaka will definitely go all out and will never disappoint your hopes of me." Ito said with satisfaction, "Very well, I will call Nanako first, so that she must meet Jiro today. After they meet, you must be in front of Nanako." Hiroshi Tanaka said in a hurry, "Okay, Chairman." At this time, Nanako had just put down her phone and resumed her rigorous training. But the phone buzzed and vibrated again. She picked up the phone and found that it turned out to be the call from the father, so she hurriedly connected and said respectfully, "Father, I wonder for what you are calling me at this time. What's the order?" In large Japanese families, the hierarchy is very strict. Children in ordinary families call their parents Odo-san and Oka-san, just like Chinese children call parents. However, in Japan's large hierarchical families, all children must call their parents father and mother. Moreover, you should not be too verbal in communicating with your parents on weekdays. You must always use honorific titles, especially for girls. One of the most important homework since childhood is to learn tedious aristocratic etiquette. Although Nanako grew up holding the golden key, she has been strictly following the various cumbersome rules of the big family from her birth to the present, and she dare not go beyond half a point. On the other side of the phone, Ito Yuhiko asked her, "Nanako, I heard that you won the game today, congratulations." Nanako hurriedly said, "Father, today's game is only 16-8. My goal is to win the championship. Please father, wait for me to win the championship, then congratulations me." "Very good." Ito Yuahiko said approvingly, as expected to be the daughter of the Ito family, she is not arrogant or rash, and she still remembers her original intentions. Even though Nanako was holding the phone, she subconsciously bowed slightly to the east, and said respectfully, "Thank you father for your praise, I will continue to work hard." Yuahiko Ito gave a hum, and then said, "By the way, Nanako, the chairman of Kobayashi Pharmaceutical, did Jiro beseech you in the past?" "Yes, father." Ito Yuahiko said, You are not too young anymore. Don't always keep away from the opposite S3X. I have been in contact with this young man Jiro. He is only 2 years older than you, and he is young and promising. You might as well get in touch with him more." Nanako hurriedly said, "My father, I don't have any ideas about men's and women's affairs now, and I will not focus on this in the next few years. Then I will participate in next Olympic Games and the next. In the next Olympics, talking about love will only affect my training and competition, and I hope my father can understand." Ito Takehiko said, "You are still too young. Many things are not the relationship between fish and bear's paw, but the relationship between fish and water. Love and marriage will not affect your future life plan." Nanako said seriously, "Father, Nanako, I agree with what you said. Practicing martial arts is like sailing against the current. If you don't advance, you will retreat. If you want to become the world's top master, you must spend all the time you can spend on training. In terms of training, if I don't train hard at this time, but instead waste precious time on love and marriage, then I will not be able to become a martial arts master in my life." Ito Uehiko said with a bit of reprimand in his voice, "Budo was originally meant to be a hobby for you to practice. I didn't want you to devote all your time and energy to it. Knowing that you are the eldest lady of the Ito family after all, the eldest lady must look like a eldest lady, and fight with others in the ring every day. What's the point?" Nanako firmly said, "Father, martial arts is the home of my lifelong pursuit. If necessary, I am willing to give up love and marriage for martial arts." Naughty! Ito Yuhiko suddenly furious, "You are my daughter, with the blood of the Ito family flowing through you. How can you give up the inheritance of blood for the sake of the martial arts? Are you worthy of the ancestors of the Ito family?" Nanako was speechless. When she heard her father's words, she did feel a little guilty in her heart, so she hurriedly said, "My father, I know that I was wrong. I am not really not thinking about marriage, but at this stage I don't want to think about it too early. Please, my father. Understand." Ito Uehiko said coldly, "I can't understand, it's impossible to understand, but I don't want to tell you more about life on the phone. When you come back from the game, we father and daughter can help our knees grow and talk. But now, Jiro has come to visit you. As the eldest lady of the Ito family, you represent the face and image of the Ito family. How can you avoid it? If it spreads out, outsiders will definitely say that the Ito family doesn't understand etiquette." When Nanako heard this, she had no choice but to say, "It was my misconsideration, and I asked my father to forgive me. I will change clothes and go to see Jiro." Seeing Nanako's promise, Ito Takehiko's voice eased a little. He asked, "Nanako, have you had lunch?" She replied truthfully, "Returned to my father, I was training when I came back from the gym, and I haven't had lunch yet." Ito Uehiko hummed, and said, "It's so good. I think it's noon now. You simply take Jiro to have lunch with you, which can be regarded as a way of hospitality for your father. Take him for lunch?" Nanako was somewhat reluctant. She herself is a girl with a relatively cold personality, and when her family was teaching her feminine etiquette, she kept a sufficient distance from outside men. In addition, she had been obsessed with martial arts for many years, so she had nothing to do with men and the contact. Except for her family, she grew up so old that she had never eaten privately with a young man. Even her assistant Koichi Tanaka never had a chance to eat with her. However, she could also hear the toughness of her father's tone, knowing that it might be useless to oppose him, so she said, "Okay, father, Nanako understands." Ito Yuhiko said with satisfaction, "Nanako, the family has a very important cooperation with Kobayashi Pharmaceutical now in progress, so you must not neglect the other party, understand?" Nanako hurriedly said, "I see, my father." After hanging up the phone, Nanako sighed helplessly. She called Hiroshi Tanaka and said to him, "Tanaka, please help me entertain Mr. Kobayashi first. I was sweating during my practice and I need to take a shower." Hiroshi Tanaka hurriedly agreed, then turned to Jiro and said, "Mr. Kobayashi, please wait a moment. Our eldest lady needs a shower. She will arrive soon." When Jiro heard that Nanako would like to see him, he was deeply excited, but on the surface he said calmly, "Okay Mr. Tanaka, I am waiting for Miss Ito here." 10 minutes later, Nanako, who took the shower, changed into a simple and plain Japanese home clothes. At this time, she can no longer see the traces of years of martial arts practice. She is completely a gentle traditional Japanese woman. Tanaka took Jiro to Nanako's presidential suite. When Jiro saw Nanako, he was shocked. He couldn't help but marvel in his heart, "My God! Why is this woman so beautiful? So pure? Her eyes are clear and lustrous, like a work of art carefully carved from the sky, the face like a goose egg is white and flawless, the exquisite nose is like a treasure of the world, and the thin lips like cherry blossoms are delicate and fascinating. In the eyes of Jiro, she is like the crystal clear water of Tianqi on the top of a snow-capped mountain, dignified, quiet, gentle, and a little cold." Only on this side, Jiro fell in love with this woman deeply, and secretly vowed in his heart, "I must marry her as my wife anyway. Even if it is to let me join the Ito family, I will not hesitate. Because besides her, there is no such perfect woman in this world." Jiro desperately suppressed his deep desire for Nanako, but Nanako still found a touch of desire that could not be suppressed in his eyes. This made her feel a little disgusted in her heart, feeling that Jiro's eyes were like a drop of meaty lard dripping into a cup of fine tea. However, she was not good at expressing her disgust, so she could only say very politely, "Mr. Kobayashi, sorry, I just made you wait a long time." Jiro hurriedly waved his hand and said, "No, no, no, Miss Ito don't need to be so polite. You took the liberty to come to the door. Actually I was abrupt. Please don't mind Miss Ito." As he said, Jiro sighed again with a deep annoyance, and said regretfully, "I just arrived in Oris Hill this morning. After completing the immigration procedures, I came here directly. I didn't have time to go to the gym to watch Miss Ito's game today. I heard Miss Ito defeated her opponent in just one round, and it's a shame that I couldn't see her below." Nanako said, "Mr. Kobayashi is too kind. From now on, in every game of Miss Ito, I will definitely be there to cheer you up. Actually, the next Kobayashi Pharmaceutical sponsored the finals of this competition. By then, I will personally present the trophy to the champion of the competition. I can't wait. Looking forward to the day of the final, I will give the trophy to Miss Ito. Nanako said humbly, Mr. Kobayashi, before the game is over, no one knows who will win the championship. Although I have the confidence to win, I dare not say that I will win the championship. Jiro quickly said, I believe Miss Ito must be fine. Nanako smiled, remembering his father's order, and said, Mr. Kobayashi, it's noon now. Why don't you stay and have lunch together? As soon as Jiro heard this, his whole heart was trembling with excitement, and he said excitedly, It is a great honor to have lunch with Miss Ito. Nanako said to Koichi Tanaka, Tanaka, please follow us to the restaurant in this suite, and serve lunch for me and Mr. Kobayashi by the way. In fact, although Nanako is the eldest lady of a top big family in Japan, she has always been independent, and rarely needs a lot of people to wait for her like other rich second generations. Therefore, she would never allow Tanaka to serve by her side at ordinary times, but today she really does not want to be alone with Jiro, so she is prepared to keep Tanaka by her side, which is also a buffer. When Hiroshi Tanaka heard the order from the eldest lady, he naturally nodded without hesitation. Jiro thought that Nanako was used to being served during meals, so he didn't take it to heart. After all, even if he went out to eat in a restaurant, it was there are waiters around to serve. When they came to the restaurant, Nanako sat across from Jiro. Because of the large area of the presidential suite, the restaurant is also very spacious and luxurious. One of the rectangular Western dining tables can accommodate at least 12 people for dining together. So the two sat opposite at the Western table, and the distance was guaranteed to a certain extent, which made Nanako feel a little more at ease. After sitting down, Jiro took the initiative to find a topic to chat with Nanako, and said, Miss Ito has been here for a long time, right? Nanako nodded and said, It's been 20 days since I came. Jiro asked again, Then I wonder if you have had a good time in Oris Hill? This city is still very beautiful. Nanako asked faintly, Mr. Kobayashi has been to Oris Hill before? Oh, the first time. Jiro sighed and said, Actually, Oris Hill is not an interesting place for me, it has worst memoirs in fact. If it weren't for Miss Ito, you are here to participate in the competition. No matter how beautiful the city is, I will definitely won't come. Nanako asked in surprise, Mr. Kobayashi, what do you say that for? Jiro pretended to be sad and said, There is a big rebellious elder brother, who is so obsessed with his heart and poisoned our common father with poison. Our Kobayashi family issued a killing order in order to clear the door. My brother was killed by a bounty hunter in Oris Hill some time ago. I don't even know where his body is buried now. Nanako didn't expect that Jiro's elder brother died in Oris Hill. She said with some embarrassment, I'm sorry, Mr. Kobayashi, accidentally provoked your sadness. Jiro quickly waved his hand and said seriously, It doesn't matter, although this matter is sad, but Ms. Ito is not an outsider after all, I can also relieve my sadness by listening to you. Thinking of his elder brother Ichiro, Jiro didn't feel sad at all. On the contrary, he was very happy. The idea of Japanese eldest son inheriting family business is deeply ingrained. Regardless of the big family, the eldest son will eventually inherit the family business. Even if the eldest son's ability is not as good as the second or other sons, he will still be the head of the family, and then let other capable younger brothers assist him. Originally, after the death of his father, Jiro's fate was to assist his brother, Ichiro, to carry forward Kobayashi Pharmaceutical and the Kobayashi family. Even if his ability is stronger than his brother, even if his credit is greater than his brother, he must follow the Japanese rules of growing up. If he dares to snatch the inheritance of the family from his elder brother, then it will become a rebellious existence in the eyes of the entire Japanese society. Unexpectedly, one of his elder brother Ichiro's sorrow operations actually gave himself the position of heir to the family. More perfect, the magical medicine he sent back killed the two common fathers. Not only did it directly solve the father of the two people at the time, but also caused him to bear the crime of paternicide, and finally returned it. Gave himself a reason to kill him. Speaking of it, this is simply a gift of thousands of miles, and it also gave the whole family to himself. The cost of killing this big brother was too high. The fraudulent surnamed Wade asked him for 10 billion as soon as he spoke. And these 10 billion are not Japanese yen, but RMB. This money really hurt him for a while. But fortunately, he does have extraordinary abilities. Some time ago, he led the development of Kobayashi Vicin from ancient Chinese prescriptions, and now it has become the best stomach medicine in Japan. The global marketing of this stomach medicine is just around the corner. At that time, let alone RMB 10 billion, even RMB 10 billion or RMB 100 billion is nothing in his eyes. Moreover, if he can marry Nanako and become the son-in-law of the Ito family, then Kobayashi Pharmaceuticals will be able to get greater assistance and achieve faster development. It won't take long for Kobayashi Pharmaceutical to surpass J&J in the United States and become the largest pharmaceutical group in the world. On that day, he will be able to stand on top of the world. Thinking of this, he looked at Nanako eagerly, and asked with a smile, "Miss Ito will soon graduate this year, right?" "Yes." Nanako nodded and said, "Graduated in the summer." Jiro smiled and said, "Oh, the senior year is really like a flower. Many girls choose to get married after graduating from college. I wonder if Miss Ito has any ideas in this regard?" Nanako shook her head, "My mind is on martial arts, and I haven't thought of falling in love in a short time." Jiro was not discouraged, and asked, "Then what kind of men does Miss Ito like more?" Nanako said, "I haven't considered this issue because I haven't liked any man." Jiro did not give up, and continued to ask, "Then think about it now, what kind of man can meet your criteria for mate selection?" Nanako thought about it, and then said, "First of all, he must be stronger than me." "Better than you? In what way? In career? In education? Or achievement?" Nanako said very seriously, "It is the strength of martial arts. I don't want to find a man who can't beat me in the future." Jiro coughed awkwardly, and thought to himself, "This Nanako, it doesn't seem to be quiet," but he didn't expect to be so competitive in his bones. She likes martial arts and pursues martial arts. Why do you want to find a man who is stronger than yourself when you fall in love? That is to say, a person who has no power to bind a chicken, doesn't it mean that he has already lost some opportunities when he comes up? Thinking of this, Jiro said hurriedly, "Miss Ito, is your condition not a bit harsh? There are so many good men in the world, but they may not all practice martial arts, and many martial arts masters are very old. Just like your coach Mr. Yamamoto Kazuki, Ms. Ito would not want to find such a boyfriend, right? Nanako shook her head and said, "Of course not. The strength is stronger than me. It is only the first requirement. I also have the second requirement. He must conform to my aesthetics and values. In addition, his age must not be older. Over 3 years old, not more than that old, and he must be upright and kind." Jiro asked again, "What about the assets? What are the requirements?" Nanako said, "There are no requirements for assets." Jiro felt a little depressed. "My biggest advantage is my assets. I am the chairman of a family business at a young age. This is rare in Japan. After all, the older generation of entrepreneurs who are normally as old as my father have not retired, and their children are also haven't even begun to inherit the family business." However, he did not expect that Nanako would not care about the other party's assets at all. Could it be that even a pauper, as long as he meets other conditions, she is willing to follow? Depressed, Jiro couldn't help saying, "Miss Ito, President Ito should have certain requirements for your future spouse selection. After all, you are the eldest lady of the Ito family. At this point, you should also consider the opinion of Chairman Ito." Nanako shook his head, "Everything else can be considered father's opinion, but I will not consider the matter of choosing a spouse. This is not only about a person's freedom, but also about the happiness of a person's life. Don't point fingers." Jiro frowned involuntarily. It seems that this super-rich second-generation beauty and super-rich in front of her is very difficult to chew. Just when Jiro didn't know how to cut in, how to pursue Nanako, Charlie had already galloped back and forth on the lake with Aoxu. Aoxu had enough fun, and the chef of the Qin family had prepared a sumptuous meal and banquet, so she drove the boat back to the dock. Later, she returned to the villa with Charlie, and Qin Gang warmly invited Charlie to sit in the luxurious Chinese restaurant in his villa. When Qin Gang arranged the seats, he specifically asked Aoxu to sit next to Charlie. At the same time, he opened a bottle of top-quality mutai that had been kept for many years and handed it to Aoxu. "Don't let master's cup empty." Aoxu took the wine bottle and said softly, "I know, Dad, don't worry." Qin Gang smiled again and said, "By the way, Aoxu, the first time master comes back to our house for dinner, you also accompany master for a drink." Aoxu smiled shyly, and said obediently, "I know, Dad, then I will drink a little with master." Charlie smiled slightly and said, "Aoxu, after eating, I will help you absorb the power of the magic drug, so you are not suitable for drinking. If you really want to drink with me, just wait for you to win the championship." Aoxu bit her lower lip lightly, and said unconfidently, "Master, to be honest, if I were to fight Nanako, I wouldn't even be 20% sure. This Nanako really is very powerful, there is no rival among people of the same age." Charlie smiled and asked, "Is Nanako really so amazing?" Aoxu said, "Nanako started martial arts when she was 5 years old, and she has been learning from Japan's top masters. What's more, she practiced a variety of martial arts since childhood, including sanda, fighting, karate, and even jeet kune. A talented player. And I only started practicing Sanda fighting when I was 10 years old. I have 5 years less skill than Nanako. The gap is too big. Even if your magical medicine can improve my physical function, I may not be able to beat her, because Sanda fighting games are not only about physical strength, agility, and speed, but also experience and tactics. Experience and tactics are accumulated over time and little by little. It is also the biggest gap between me and Nanako. Speaking of this, Aoxu continued with a little sullenly, it's like your men's favorite football, whether it is Messi or Ronaldo, what they are really good at is their skills and consciousness, and experience, not their bodies. How strong they are, or how strong their stamina is. Messi is so short and there are too many football players who are stronger than him, but there are basically no active football players with experience and skills comparable to him. This is the key point. Charlie nodded and said, "You are right. Experience and tactics do require years of actual combat. However, don't worry too much about this. I will definitely help you analyze the strengths and weaknesses of your opponents carefully. Help you develop tactics." Aoxu nodded excitedly, "Great master. Then I will rely on you." After eating, Aoxu took Charlie to her special practice room. Aoxu's exercise room is much larger than the living room of an average person's home. It has all kinds of training equipment and a standard arena. Aoxu invited Charlie to do it in the rest area of the practice room, and then said to him shyly, "Master, you sit first, and I will change into training clothes." Charlie, "Okay." Seeing Charlie nodded, Aoxu turned and went to the next room first. A few minutes later, she walked out wearing brave sportswear. Said it is sportswear, it is actually a sports underwear. Sports underwear can cover very little skin, nothing more than the key part. So Aoxu's pink neck, slender arms, and long legs, and flat belly with 2 vest lines were all fully exposed to the air. Unlike when he saw Aoxu on the field today, Charlie saw her now in a closed and private environment. In this environment, there was no other person besides the two of them, so this made him feel a little bit unnatural. Aoxu also kept answering in shame, always feeling that in private, she dressed like this for Charlie to look at, feeling a little shy and unbearable in her heart. However, she didn't panic at all, because she was very confident in her figure, and deep in her heart hoped Charlie can see more of her shining light. Charlie tried his best to look at Aoxu's eyes without any impurities, and said seriously, "Aoxu, where is the medicine I gave you before?" Aoxu immediately opened her palms and exposed a pill in a transparent plastic shell, and said, "Master, the magic medicine is here." Charlie nodded and said, "Okay, you take the medicine now, and I will guide you to absorb the medicine quickly." This medicine itself is a good medicine for the treatment of physical injuries. Because of its aura, the effect of the medicine has been qualitatively sublimated. Middle-aged and elderly people have many embarrassments in their bodies, and their organs and bodies also have a certain degree of regression. Therefore, when taking the medicine, the effect of the medicine will directly act on these patients for repair, and there is no need to guide them by themselves. However, young people's bodies are strong, and their organs and bodies are generally at their peak. At this time, blindly taking medicines will cause powerful medicine effects and nowhere to absorb them. If the human body is compared to a sponge, the body of the middle-aged and elderly people is a sponge that has lost a lot of water and is even about to dry up. At this time, giving them enough water will quickly replenish the water they lost and regain their youthful state. But if the young man's body is not injured, it is a sponge filled with water. In this case, if he is blindly hydrated, it is basically impossible for him to absorb it. Even, maybe there is a strong but unabsorbable medicinal effect, which in turn damages the body. When Charlie gave Aoxu the medicine, his intention was to leave her as an insurance, so that she could use this medicine to save her life when she was injured or seriously ill. But now he wants to use this medicine to help her improve, so he must help her guide the absorption of the medicine. Aoxu immediately took the medicine out of the box after hearing what he said, then looked at Charlie, and asked with a cunning face, "Master, can I just take the medicine?" Charlie nodded, "Sit down cross-legged, and then take the medicine directly." Aoxu obediently followed suit, sat cross-legged on the soft training mat, and then put the pill into her mouth. The power of this medicine is very pure, so as soon as Aoxu put it in her mouth, the pill immediately turned into a strong warm current and entered her internal organs. Immediately afterwards, Aoxu felt extremely hot all over her body, and every pore seemed to be sweating desperately. The key is that this kind of sweating is completely different from what she usually does after exercising. She felt her sweat, like being squeezed out of her body by a powerful force. Moreover, the sweat that flows out is much denser than usual, and it feels sticky as if it was just soaked in a bucket full of glue. Charlie immediately used the spiritual energy in his body to help Aoxu guide and absorb these medicinal powers. The powerful medicinal power was melted into Aoxu's body by Charlie, causing her body to undergo earth-shaking changes. Aoxu felt a bit painful and unbearable at first, but in the later stage, she felt indescribable and comfortable all over her body, and she felt like she was completely reborn. The most bizarre thing is that she can still feel an unprecedented sense of comfort, like being held tightly in her arms by Charlie, warm and comfortable, and she can't help but feel ripples in her heart. When Charlie was guiding Aoxu's medicinal power, he deliberately used some spiritual energy to make these spiritual energy quietly moisturize Aoxu's whole body like a silent spring rain. The effect of it is more powerful than the medicines previously refined by him. It can not only greatly improve Aoxu's physical fitness, but also her muscles, tendons, bones, and internal organs. Although Aoxu has practiced martial arts for many years, she is still an ordinary person after all. For ordinary people, aura is far more powerful than a panacea. Aoxu's physical strength is far from comparable. When Charlie said to Aoxu that he was done, Aoxu let out a long sigh, then hurriedly stood up and walked to the sandbag to make several sets of beating movements. However, because she didn't know how much Charlie had improved her physical fitness, she still used all her strength when hitting the sandbag. However, after this punch went out, the sandbag banged and exploded directly. What Aoxu uses is a top-notch boxing sandbag. This kind of sandbag is made of whole buffalo leather. It is smooth and tough. It will not be deformed even if it is used for a long time, and it will not be damaged due to the strong hitting force. However, Aoxu at this time is no longer the same. Compared with ordinary people, her physical fitness has already made a qualitative leap. The strength of a punch is at least several times better than before. Seeing that the sandbag was punched with a big hole by herself, and the fine sand inside spurted out and spilled all over the ground, Aoxia was surprised and speechless. After a while, she recovered, turned her head to look at Charlie, and exclaimed, "Master, how can I have so much power with this punch?" Charlie smiled and said, "Of course it is because of taking the magic medicine. It can not only save the dead and heal the wound, but also strengthen the body and fundamentally increase the strength of your body." Aoxia said in surprise, "Gosh! I feel that this medicine is even more effective than my 5 years of hard training. This medicine is too amazing." Charlie nodded, "Your physical strength now far exceeds that of your opponents at the same level, so I believe that in the next games, you will surely be able to win the championship all the way." Aoxia ran to Charlie excitedly, holding his arm, and said with red eyes, "Master, thank you so much." Aoxia never expected to have such strength. As she said, she suddenly raised her toes and kissed Charlie's face. With Charlie's reaction speed, he could have easily avoided this kiss, but for some reason, his legs just seemed to be filled with lead, and he couldn't move at all. Or maybe it's deep in his heart that he doesn't want to move at all. Aoxia's face was blushing at this time. She did not dare to look at Charlie, but said in a low voice, "Master, don't get me wrong, I just want." "Thank you." Aoxia's voice became smaller and smaller, and it was already inaudible to the back. Charlie touched the spot where Aoxia had kissed his face, and said, "If you continue to train hard, I think you might even play for the country or even win glory for the country in the next Olympics." "Really?" Aoxia was overjoyed and asked him, "Master, do you think my strength is really possible to participate in the Olympics?" Charlie smiled and said, "Your current physical fitness is already at the top of your peers. As long as your skills, awareness, and tactics can be improved, there is absolutely no problem in competing in the Olympics." Aoxia nodded and said earnestly, "If I can beat Nanako this time, then I will be sure to hit the Olympics." Charlie smiled slightly, "I believe you can." Aoxia hurriedly said, "Master, you must come for my game the day after tomorrow." "Don't worry, I will be there." At this moment, East Cliff CBD, the country's largest entertainment company, Perfect Motion Entertainment Group. Sarah, the top female artist under Perfect Motion, is in the studio, shooting a cover for a fashion magazine. This time, it was her 4th time to be on the cover of a fashion magazine. For her, it was already commonplace. Sarah in the studio, wearing a black and white contrast dress tailored specifically for her by Chanel, looks a little lonely and arrogant in her glamour, and she looks like a strong woman who can be seen from afar but not playful. After the photographer took a number of blockbusters, Sarah finally completed the task, and the assistant next to her immediately stepped forward and handed over a cup of warm water and a packet of Kobayashi's Weissen. Sarah frowned slightly and seemed to be a little bit painful. After taking the stomach powder with warm water immediately, it relieved a little bit. At this time, Perfect Motion's boss Leland Hunt came over with a smile on his face, and said in admiration, "Miss Sarah, your look is really amazing today. It's really an alluring look. If this issue of the magazine goes on sale, it will definitely be snatched by fans again, and will even follow the previous issue, and the price will be more than 10 times higher." Sarah said lightly, "Mr. Hunt, don't let me be on the cover of a magazine in a short time. I don't like this feeling very much." When Leland heard this, he hurriedly said flatly, "Oh, my Miss Sarah, the magazine has been eagerly inviting you to be the cover character. This is not my decision." Sarah said, "Can you decline it? Every time I get on the cover, you have to join the magazine publisher to increase the price of the magazine. A magazine for 20 will have to be fired up to 200 or more by you. For fans it's a big injury. I don't want my fans to spend so much wronged money." "What's this?" Leland said with a smile. "Fans are willing to spend high prices because they like you. There was a period drama some time ago, and 2 male protagonists were on fire. Their magazine was sold for 20 each. For 300, more than 300,000 copies have been sold across the country, and the company behind it has made tens of millions." Sarah said in a disgusting tone, "Mr. Hunt, I just said that I don't want to hurt my fans so much. Therefore, after this time, I will not be on the cover of any magazines in the next year." Leland's expression was a little depressed, but he did not dare to say one more word. "Don't think he is the owner of Perfect Motion Entertainment," but in front of Sarah, he can only nod and bow. The total assets of Perfect Motion Entertainment are only 20 billion. There are many shareholders behind this. Leland owns only 30% of the shares. However, Sarah's family is the entire Eastcliff family, second only to the Sua family and the Wade family. With the strength of Gu's family, she can also buy Perfect Motion Entertainment with any leftovers. Sarah's reason for entering the entertainment industry is not to make money, but entirely out of personal preference. She likes filming and singing, and she is also Gu's eldest lady, so naturally she has the full support of her family. However, since joining the entertainment circle, she must operate according to the mode of the entertainment circle. Sarah also needs an economic company to help her coordinate various tasks and various publicity. Therefore, she joined Leland's Perfect Motion Entertainment. As for why she chose to join Perfect Motion Entertainment, it is actually because Leland was the classmate and attendant of Sarah's father when Sarah was studying overseas. Leland can have today's achievements. The greatest noble person in life is Sarah's father. Therefore, Sarah has a transcendent position in Perfect Motion Entertainment, and she is the only one among the countless artists of Perfect Motion Entertainment who can make the boss Leland bend his knees. After finishing the filming work, Sarah said to Leland, "Mr. Hunt, I'll go back if you're okay. I'm not feeling well today." Leland hurriedly asked with concern, "Miss Sarah, haven't the stomach discomfort been corrected?" Sarah shook her head and said, "I was filming in the United States some time ago, and I was a bit uncomfortable with food and water and soil. In addition, I have been shooting for a long time, so I hurt my spleen and stomach. Don't arrange a job for me next month." Leland, how dare to disobey, and hurriedly said, "Miss Sarah, don't worry, this month you will take a rest at home. I will definitely go to your house and apologize to your dad another day. During the time you go to the United States to film, I should give you 2 A-class chefs. Take good care of your diet and daily life, it's all because of my inconsideration." Sarah waved her hand slightly, "This has nothing to do with you, and you don't have to take it too seriously, I will go back first." Leland asked earnestly, Miss Sarah, do you want me to send you a car? Sarah shook her head. No, my Sarah car is downstairs in the company. At this time, Sarah's agent, a beauty with a temperament similar to her age, stepped in. Seeing that Sarah was about to leave, she asked, Sarah, is the filming finished? Sarah nodded, it's all over. I won't work in the next month. If I have a job, you will hang up for me first, and then I will talk about it when I recover. As soon as the agent heard this, she immediately said, that's okay, then I will put all the work to the next month. As she said, she shook a document in her hand and said, there is a company in the pharmaceutical industry in Oris Hill. They want to ask you to endorse their stomach medicine. I wanted you to take a look at their information. If that's the case, wait a month before talking. Sarah gave a hum, and was about to go outside, and suddenly asked a little curiously, you said endorsing a stomach medicine? Yes. The economic man said with a smile, their medicine is called JX Vicin. The name is mysterious. It doesn't feel very reliable. I just rejected it. Sarah nodded, but then subconsciously said, by the way, let me see the information on their stomach medicine. During this time, Sarah herself has been suffering from stomach problems. Her gastric disease is not actually a pathological lesion or injury, but a disorder of the spleen and stomach caused by long-term inadequacy of water and poor diet. She went to the hospital several times and took some Western medicine, but basically it didn't work. The only effective one is Kobayashi Vicin. However, although Kobayashi Vicin is effective, it also has its embarrassment. That is, this medicine treats the symptoms but not the root cause. When the stomach discomfort is strong, take a packet of Kobayashi Vicin, the stomach discomfort can be relieved immediately, but this link is time effective. When can it last for 5 or 6 hours, but in bad times it may only last for 1 or 2 hours. Sarah has been taking Kobayashi Vicin for a whole week. She has been using more and more dosages for a long time. However, once the effect of the medicine has passed, she still has a strong sense of discomfort. In other words, in essence, her spleen and stomach disorders have not received any treatment. Therefore, she is planning to find a top traditional medicine doctor in East Cliff to help her take a look. In the next month, she will take a few pieces of traditional medicine home and treat it well. But seeing such a coincidence, there is a pharmaceutical company that wants her to endorse their stomach medicine, which makes her suddenly interested. So she asked for the information of JX Vicin from her agent, and probably looked at the introduction about this Vicin. According to the introduction, JX Vicin is an ancient prescription for nourishing the stomach extracted from the ancient Chinese medical classics, and then supplemented by modern pharmaceutical technology, the second development of innovative traditional medicines, which can treat stomach discomfort and various stomach diseases. Disorders of the spleen and stomach have good relieving and healing effects. This made Sarah very curious. She knew that Kobayashi Vicin, which had good results, good sales, and good reputation, was actually developed based on ancient Chinese prescriptions. To put it bluntly, it was plagiarizing the medical results of Chinese tradition. However, she has to admit that Kobayashi Vicin is indeed much more effective than the same type of proprietary traditional medicines produced by many domestic pharmaceutical companies. Therefore, She also didn't know that this JX Weissen had the strength of Talon Weissen. However, she likes the name of JX Weissen very much. The meaning of JX is short form from 9 heavens above. This is a term evolved from ancient Chinese myths and stories. In ancient China, the number 9 is the largest number, so it has the meaning of reaching its peak. These 9 days represent the highest existence. So Sarah asked her agent, did they give samples? Yes. The agent hurriedly took out a small packet of JX Weissen from the envelope of a delivery document and handed it over. Sarah was stunned, and blurted out, "What? Just gave such a small bag?" "Yes," the agent said awkwardly, "there is also a small note in the envelope." "What's in the note?" The agent said, "It says on the note, spleen and stomach discomfort, 1 pack is enough, good or bad, just try it." Sarah was dumbfounded at hearing, and blurted out, "This group of people should just tell me what a packet is enough. I don't believe it, this Kobayashi Weissen, I have eaten more than a dozen packets a day these days. Is this package all right?" The agent said embarrassingly, "Who knows what they are doing, it might be a grandstanding." Sarah said angrily, "I still don't believe in this evil, I have to try it, how amazing this medicine is." With that, she was about to tear open this little package. "Don't, Sarah!" The agent hurriedly stopped her and said, "We don't know anything about this now. In case this is a product with no products, if you eat it, you will suffer some damage or heavy metal dosage. What to do if you are poisoned by overdose?" Sarah asked her, "Is there any approval for this medicine? Let me take a look." The agent looked through the mailed information, nodded and said, "It says that there is an approval document, but the approval document is just coming down." Sarah said, "Don't care how long it has been in use. As long as there is an approval, it will definitely be a regular product. Even if it has no effect, it will definitely not be a poison. I will try it." The agent said, "Don't try, Sarah. Kobayashi Weissen can't regulate your spleen and stomach. The effects produced by a small pharmaceutical company in Oris Hill will definitely be worse." Sarah said with a serious face, "A lot, I have to criticize you. How can you be so fond of foreigners? Why do you think that the domestic pharmaceutical companies produce Weissen worse than others?" Her agent August murmured, "I am not a fan of foreigners, something will come out of your stomach after eating." Sarah smiled and said, "Then I will try now. If there is any problem, you can call 120 for me." Sarah opened the package of JX Weissen, which contained only 1.3 grams of powder. The moment the package was torn open, she smelled a very strong scent of medicine. Although similar medicines such as Kobayashi Weissen and Ocean Weissen also have a relatively strong medicinal fragrance, Sarah felt that the other two flavors were far less pleasant than those of JX Weissen. August on the side also smelled the smell, and said nervously, "Sarah, this medicine smells so good, won't you add any flavor?" Sarah gave her a white look, "Don't talk nonsense, this is obviously an authentic herbal scent, which proves that this is all the best medicinal materials." With that, she raised her head and poured the powder in the bag into her mouth. In an instant, a refreshing scent quickly dissipated in her mouth. Sarah hurriedly took a sip of warm water and took the powder into her abdomen. In the next moment, she felt her stomach become warm, just as it was 3 or 9 days in winter. After walking outside for a long time, she came home and soaked her cold feet in warm water. It felt very comfortable. She couldn't help but exclaimed, "The effect of this medicine is amazing. My stomach feels a lot more comfortable." "Really?" August asked in surprise, "Is it so magical? Is it really better than Kobayashi Visen?" Sarah said decisively, "Of course it is. This one is much more comfortable than Kobayashi's stomach powder. God! The warm current in my stomach is still there, and it seems to be flowing in my stomach. This feels great. In the past month, my stomach has never been so relaxed. It's almost like returning to normal. I have taken so much medicine, every time I take it, it can only relieve the pain to a certain extent, but it has never been so complete. The effect of this medicine is really amazing." As Sarah's agent, August stays with her every day. Naturally, she knows that Sarah has suffered from spleen and stomach disorders in the recent months. She also knows how much Sarah has tried and worked hard to cure the stomach discomfort. Unexpectedly, what really gave Sarah a lot of relief was a new domestic drug that was unknown. Sarah couldn't help saying, "I have to observe carefully to see how long this medicine lasts." August said, "Then what do you plan to do now? Go home or?" "Go home." Sarah said, "I have been taking pictures for several hours. I am really tired. I want to go home and rest first." August nodded, "That's all right, I will let the driver drive to the elevator right now." Sarah asked her to pack her things. "Go downstairs and take the car back to Villa." Along the way, she had been worried that her stomach discomfort would reappear, but she did not expect that her stomach seemed to be back to normal, and she never repeated it. She got home and rested for an afternoon. The disorder of the spleen and stomach didn't make trouble for her. This made Sarah very happy, and the whole person was finally relieved. Until the night before going to bed, Sarah's spleen and stomach irregularities did not recur. Join our Facebook and WhatsApp group for more updates, link is given in description. Rest audiobook will be continued in next episode.